The movie begins with a scene of an airbase in Scotland where a hijacked plane is going to be landed. The pilot and the co-pilot had been killed by the terrorists, and now a passenger named Farid was flying this plane. The team presented at the airport was instructing Farid, and he was following their instructions, and finally, the plane landed successfully. Then the colonel hears Farid telling us that until we are not safe, do not push the trigger. Then we see a boy coming down named Elias. The militants took him safely. Then the colonel asked him to release all the passengers. Farid says that I am not a terrorist, but the colonel doesn't believe him. In the next scene, the doctor is asking Elias what happened on the plane. And then he starts telling him. Then we see Elias's mother, Nadja, who is looking as if she is suffering from some dangerous disease. Then we see Farid is helping Elias at the airport, and Nadja is talking with a doctor over a video call, from where we get to know that she is heading to New York for her treatment for leukemia. Then she reached the airport, and then, at the check-in counter, the officer saw some medicines and injections in Nadja's luggage. Then she told them that she is on medication. After that, we see Nadja is taking her medicines and injections in the washroom, and after taking that, she is not feeling well. Meanwhile, Elias befriends Farid. Then we see passengers settle down on the plane, and Nadja is seeing her family's photographs. Then we see some flashback scenes where she was on a family trip with her husband, Nikolai. When they were returning from the trip, their car broke down. Nikolai went to see some mechanic for the help. And then, the scene shifted back to the plane. The 3 air marshals on the plane got killed by an Arabian terrorist group who has hijacked this plane. Also, the co-pilot Bastian is ganged up with these terrorists, and then the leader of the group, Berg, makes an announcement that the plane has been hijacked and is now in control of his men. Meanwhile, Nadja is getting uncomfortable after seeing blood. The terrorists sabotage the black box, preventing the plane from being tracked on radar. Meanwhile, Elias tries to hide and Nadja follows him. A sociopathic hijacker named 8-Ball sees them and shoots at Nadja several times. Assuming his mother is dead, Elias starts crying and then another terrorist takes him to his seat. On the other hand, Nadja started gaining her consciousness and started recalling when Nikolai didn't come back and Nadja was alone with Lil Elias. Then she went to see him and reached a farmhouse where she saw a lot of blood on the stairs. Following the blood, she reached a room and then got attacked by a vampire. She ran and reached a room and locked herself inside it, where she saw Nikolai's dead body who was murdered by that vampire. She started crying, but then the vampire came again from the window and attacked her. She somehow managed to save herself, but the vampire bit her hand and infected her. And then he got burned due to the sunlight. Now she has turned into a vampire. Then the scene shifted to the present where Nadja is alive, and on the other hand, the terrorists started their second plan. They are forcing Farid to record a statement that makes it appear that the plane has been seized by terrorists for a suicide attack, knowing it will then be shut down. The message was written in Urdu, and then Farid started reading it wrongly. Berg shoots down the other man to scare Farid, and then he asks Farid to read the message as it is written. Meanwhile, 2 terrorists went to take the luggage where they hid parachutes, as their main aim was to crash this plane and to escape through parachutes. Nadja was also hiding there, and then the dog started barking at her. The hijacker reached there and found Nadja, but she killed him and drank his blood. And now she has turned into a vampire. She injects the injection into her body. Meanwhile, when Berg didn't find his mate, he came towards Nadja. Realizing it, Nadja makes marks on his body and leaves the dog. When Berg and his mates reach there, they find his dead body and then they see the dog also, so they thought that he had been killed by the dog. Meanwhile, Nadja came and takes her son Elias with her into the cockpit. She finds no one there. Then she comes to the passengers and asks them to come with her and handle the plane. Then a boy stands up and tells her that I can do this, and she took him into the cockpit. Meanwhile, the passenger says that we don't have trust in him. Then Farid tries to make them understand that we have no other options left. On the other hand, Berg and his team found a medicine bottle there. They saw blood spots on the way, and they got to know that Nadja is alive. On the other hand, the engineering student told Nadja that the hijackers had put the plane on auto mode. Meanwhile, the hijackers came to find Nadja, and they asked her to open the door of the cockpit, but she refused. Then they shoot down a passenger, but she still refuses. Then Berg takes the little girl, and then Nadja opens the door and bites Berg, but she has not turned into a vampire. Her son is scared of her look. Meanwhile, the other hijackers run away into a room, and Berg started changing into a vampire, but Nadja kills him with a knife. Then she asks her son to open the door, but he refuses. She also understands the situation and locks herself into a room, and she saw her look in the mirror and gets emotional. She injects an injection once again, which gives her a lot of pain. Then she is reminded of the past, where she went to an old vampire who told her that it's an infection, and due to this, his son was out of control, and you killed him, and then he shoots her, but she manages to save herself. On the other hand, 8-Ball gets her diary, where he got to know that she is a vampire. Now 8-Ball makes a plan to kill Nadja, but Elias sees this on camera and goes to save her mother. Then 8-Ball and the other hijackers came. Then Nadja hides her son and fights with 8-Ball, who was torturing her through UV rays. He also takes blood out of her body and gives her a lot of pain. He was about to kill her, but then Elias came there and pointed a gun at 8-Ball. Then 8-Ball tries to snatch the gun from him, and then a bullet shoots out of the gun and makes a hole in the window, due to which the oxygen level in the plane starts decreasing. 8-Ball says that we need to decrease the height of the plane, as it has only 10 minutes of oxygen remaining. All the passengers run for the oxygen mask. Meanwhile, Nadja takes the gun and shoots 8-Ball. Due to the lack of oxygen, the engineer boy fainted in the cockpit, and then Bastian and his mate took over the cockpit. Now Nadja hands over her son to Farid and starts finding 8-Ball. Meanwhile, Bastian took down the plane so that they have enough oxygen to breathe. Nadja finds 8-Ball, but he has locked himself into a bulletproof car. She tries to kill him with an iron rod, but he manages to save himself. Then the blood which he had taken out from Nadja's body, he injected inside his body because he wants to become a vampire. Nadja tries to stop him by burning his car because she doesn't want to infect anybody. Now we see a flashback where that old vampire attacked her, and then she killed him and took out all the medical stuff and ran away by putting the farmhouse into the fire. On the other hand, Bastian got the alarm for fire in the airplane. He released gas to cool down the fire, due to which the car stopped burning. Then Bastian came there and started shooting her. She tried to escape but got hit by some bullets and started screaming. After seeing this, the passengers got scared and started running from there. Meanwhile, when one of the hijackers came to see inside the car, 8-Ball bites him and turns him into a vampire. Now, 8-Ball has turned into a full vampire and he tries to bite Bastian, but he somehow escapes. He attacks Carl and he started screaming, and then Nadja came back and locked him there. On the other hand, all the passengers started fighting with each other. Then, one boy stops him. Meanwhile, 8-Ball cuts the neck of Carl and drinks his blood. The passengers attacks Nadja, and Elias tries to help his mother, but Farid stops him and went to save her. Meanwhile, a boy shoots her, which makes her angry, and she attacks them. When Farid comes to stop her, she also attacks him, but then suddenly, Elias reaches there. Seeing her son, she stops, and then she hears the screaming of Carl and 8-Ball, and now she understands that 8-Ball is going to infect everybody, and she has to stop it. She tries to lock the door, but she can't. Then Farid comes there to help her, but 8-Ball bites him. Meanwhile, a boy shoots 8-Ball, which helps Nadja to lock the door. Then, she sees the mark on Farid's hand and stops the infection by cutting his hand. On the other hand, a vampire tries to come, and one of the flight attendants tries to lock him. Then, Nadja comes and hits him with an axe. 8-Ball also tries to come, but Nadja also stops him. Meanwhile, one of the infected men tries to bite an injured man, but Nadja kills him. Then, she asks Bastian to fly the plane, but he says that we have left with no fuel, so we have to land it at the upcoming port. On the other hand, the infected man got to know that if 8-Ball bites, he would be alive, so he tries to make him free. He asks 8-Ball to bite him, but 8-Ball kills him, and now he is infecting all the passengers. Naja saw all these things on the camera, and Farid tries to help them, but Bastian stops him, as all the passengers are nearly infected now. Then Bastian told them that they were planning to run away through parachutes, but the remote is in the cargo with one of the hijackers. Naja told him that she would sacrifice herself, but Elias stopped her, and he went to the cockpit through the UV rays, as he was small and can travel easily. There, he meets some vampires, but with the help of UV rays, he saves himself and reaches the hijacker. He takes out the remote, but then got caught by vampires. He tries to hide under a car. Now, Naja is worried after seeing her son in trouble through the CCTV cameras. She gets details on how to land the plane from Bastian. He tells her everything, that the plane is on auto mode and only a brake could land the plane. Then she takes a promise from Farid to take care of her and attacks Bastian and drinks his blood. 8-Ball was about to bite Elias, but then Naja saves her child and attacks 8-Ball. But he attacks her, and then Elias hit the remote button, which causes a blast, and then the emergency door opens, and then Naja throw him out of the door. Then Elias tries to save Naja, but 8-Ball attacks him. Farid watches it through the cameras, and that is why he removes the plane from auto mode and turns the plane at the sun, and then 8-Ball gets burned and dies. Then Elias gives his blood to Naja to save her, but she runs away as if she drinks his blood, she will be out of control. Then Elias exits through the emergency door in the present scene, where no one believes him and puts a sleeping injection. Then the colonel didn't believe him and sent his soldiers inside the plane. Farid tried to blast the plane, but soldiers caught him, and then the vampires started biting each of them. Here, Elias gets out of the ambulance and goes near the place where he sees his mother who is eating humans. Elias presses the remote button and puts it on blast. Meanwhile, Farid comes and they both hug each other. The colonel also releases Farid. And the story ends here. Thanks for watching.